The following is a Living St. Louis special and part of American Graduate, Getting to Work.
Good evening, I'm Ruth Ezell. Tonight we are talking jobs, specifically middle skills jobs. Those are positions that require more education and training than a high school diploma, but less than a four-year college degree. More than half the workforce has these middle skills jobs, but employers are faced with a worker shortage for this type of employment. Let's begin with Anna Marie Berger's story about a company that is taking the lead in training workers to bridge the middle skills gap.
Just off Interstate 64 in Chesterfield, 295,000 square feet of research and development space is under construction. It will be the future home of Pfizer's Biotherapeutics Pharmaceutical Sciences Group, and St. Louis-based Clayco is the company responsible for building it.
My name is Malik Johnson, and I'm a laborer here for Clayco Construction.
Which way you want to spin it?
Malik is just 22 years old, and working on a site like this is something he's always wanted to do.
My whole life, I knew I wanted to do something that wasn't behind a desk, and I wanted to work with my hands, so I was in the shop class for construction.
While Malik was a student at North Technical High School in Florissant, Dan Lester visited his shop class. Lester was recruiting Clayco's future workforce.
We're targeting high school age students to expose them to careers in construction, whether it be professional degree pathways or would it be professional skilled trade pathways.
They just taught us like different things, like maybe you should do this. They would look at how you would fix a problem, or if the teacher would give you an assignment, they would say, okay, this is the assignment, this is the problem, see if you can fix it, and they'll just see what you do with problem solving skills right on the fly. So they were kind of just observing the whole time.
Malik was offered work with Clayco. He started the day after graduation.
Full-time job.
Clayco has an ongoing mission to mentor young people, creating opportunities and building a stronger community. But companies like Clayco have to be more proactive. They need to find and develop their own skilled workforce, create their own hireable supply.
We're in a workforce crisis, and within the next 5 to 10 years, we are going to have a shortage. We already have a shortage of construction labor workforce, but all skilled trades in every industry are going to be shortened because we have not done a good job of promoting those careers to our youth.
The narrative over the last few decades has enforced the idea that after graduating high school, one must attend a four-year college and earn a degree to be considered a professional.
And construction has not been something presented as a positive career to go into. It's usually used as a last resort. Well, at least you can go and, if nothing else, you can be in construction.
Each year, St. Louis Community College publishes the State of St. Louis Workforce, a report highlighting job growth as well as its challenges. In 2017, they focused their report on middle skills jobs, those jobs that require training or education after high school, but not a four-year degree. And according to their report, the demand and growth of middle skills jobs in Missouri is strong. It's estimated that continuing through 2024, 48% of job openings in Missouri will be middle skills jobs, widening the job gap. There are more middle skills jobs than there are people to fill them.
Those are what we consider our leaders, and every employee in our company should have. Let's talk about
Enter CCDI, the Construction Career Development Initiative. This is Clayco taking their commitment to exposing high school students to viable careers in design and construction one step further.
The Construction Career Development Initiative was started in 2015 to expose students who are underserved and minority students in the North County and North City regions to construction opportunities both in the professional side and also in the skilled trades as well.
One Saturday a month, these select students get exposed to one degreed career field and one trade career field.
But they also go through some level of skills development and training. They go through interviewing skills. They learn how to shake hands, look somebody in the eye, the importance of what that means. They learn how to mirror somebody in an interview. They learn when to stand up and shake hands when somebody comes into the room. They start learning some of those intangible things, or the nonverbal skills that folks pay attention to in the professional world.
Malik has been with Clayco for 2 years. He's moved out on his own, bought a car, he's completed his professional training ahead of schedule, and with financial support from Clayco, he attends school at St. Louis Community College.
They obviously see something in me and in the kids that they have in this program that we probably don't see in ourselves yet. And it's actually exciting to know, like, okay, I can't wait to look in the mirror and see what they saw a couple years ago when they saw me. So that's the whole goal right there. And I'm getting to the point right now where I'm like, okay, maybe I still don't know why they're still with me, but they see something in me, so I just don't want to let them down. And it makes you feel proud about yourself.
Joining us now to talk about the middle skills job situation in our region are Art McCoy, he's superintendent of the Jennings School District, Julian Schuster, provost of Webster University and a PhD economist, and Scott Drochnick, director of the St. Charles County Department of Workforce and Business Development. Welcome, gentlemen. Scott, I'd like to start with you. You're the director of workforce development in the St. Charles area, but you also work with your counterparts in other parts of the region, so you sort of have a regional perspective. When we talk about middle skills jobs, it requires more than a high school diploma, not as much as a college degree. What kind of skills are we talking about, and what kind of skills are in demand?
Well, when the regional directors get together from St. Louis and from the Illinois areas, we kind of have a running joke that there's not enough CDL truck drivers, there's not enough registered nurses, there's not enough welders, there's not enough coders. And all of those positions, which are in high demand and will be growing over the next decade, don't necessarily require a 4-year degree. It could be, some of those could be as short as a 16-week certification process, or all the way up to an associate's degree of 2 years. And so as more people hear about those opportunities, thanks to people like Mike Rowe or programs like this, or other things such as the State of St. Louis Workforce Report, it's opening some eyes, and we need that message to percolate down to the students, to the parents, to the guidance counselors, and to the businesses to cooperate in furthering that discussion.
Which leads me to my question for you, Dr. McCoy, because you saw just now how Clayco is going into the classroom and basically starting to develop its own workforce. That's going to require some changes. They are changing, but the schools, don't they have to start changing? Don't teachers and students, administrators and parents have to change their perspective?
Yes, everyone has to change to stay relevant and up to date. I was so impressed by Tom Seekhouse and Clayco when they approached me about 3 or 4 years ago, when the program that you just saw and just showed actually was created, and he reached out to me and some other educators, and so Jennings School District is a part of that. You saw some of our students, you featured them. Also Rittner was shown, and then North County Tech, which was in Florissant. And so we've chosen as a school system to make this the new form of education for high school, and even not even just high school, but from 7th grade through 14th grade, to redevelop and reconstruct what education looks like, which includes industry recognized credentials. So that means that you get the appropriate training to actually have a living wage job upon graduation from high school that could qualify for some college credit by way of a trade or middle skill role that's called an industry recognized credential. That is the new method for schooling and high schooling especially, and you're starting to see it multiply across the region. St. Charles is starting a CAPS program, which is a conglomerate of the St. Charles County schools, including St. Charles City School District, to have this type of training occur for high school students. And so Jennings is pleased to be one of the first to have 10 verified, certified pathways, career academy pathways with industry recognized credentials and college credit, so that students can get living wages before they graduate. As seniors, we promise every senior a job and some college credit with the industry recognized credential. So this is the future of education.
Okay. Dr. Schuster, you're the economist here. Looking at the big picture, how does all this fit in? I mean, where does Missouri as a state and us as a region, where do we stand economically, and what does all this mean to our economy?
Sure. I do believe that Missouri is following the pattern of our economy. Basically, you know, we do have a as low an unemployment rate as the national unemployment rate is, but we also experience, relatively speaking, moderate to slower growth of our gross domestic product as the overall economy is in question. So here is the principal challenge that we are facing, how we are going to adjust our labor force to the structural changes in our economy. Changes in our labor force are that our labor force is aging, we do not have enough new entrants, and the different type of the knowledge and the skills are needed. Educational institutions need to adjust to that. And as we just have heard, both from the sector of who supplies workforce or who demands workforce and the sector who supplies workforce, we need to find a balance to those things. And Missouri is trying to find that balance in its own neighborhood, greater St. Louis area, which is the most populated area in this part of the Missouri.
Looking at these kind of jobs, because a lot of people don't even think of construction as a career or any of these middle skills jobs, they just don't know about them and might be kind of giving some pushback to all this. How do you communicate that we have a different landscape?
Sure. Let me give an example. We were chatting earlier about the fact that if you listen to some of the politicians in the last few years, you'd thought every manufacturing plant in America had moved south of the border or across the ocean, and that's just not true. There's actually a resurgence in manufacturing across our country to the point that Deloitte & Touche says we will be the world leader again in the next year or two when it comes to manufacturing. That's true in our community, and it's true in the state and around the region, and so the regional directors and the state folks have been working on a variety of events that focus on specific career paths. When it comes to manufacturing, we have a massive event every fall called Manufacturing Day. It was so large this last time with so many activities around the region, we called it Manufacturing Mania. But what happens is that we're bringing in middle school, the Jennings kids came, Jennings students, others from around the region, coming into an exhibition. They're meeting other panelists that are young entrepreneurs in manufacturing, and then beyond the hands-on exhibits, they go out and they actually tour a manufacturing site in the region. And so we've been seeing 500, 700, 1,000 or more students just in our local area each year coming into that with teachers, with principals, with superintendents, with guidance counselors, and then they leave and they realize, wow, that manufacturing plant isn't what I thought it was. It's not dark, it's not dirty, it's not dingy, and I can make a good living in that area.
So the question of pushback, I believe that's a generational thing. Many parents remember the vocation tech school structure that they attended 30, 40 years ago, but they have to understand, and educators and others have to share that this is different. This is not an either or, the traditional go to college or get a trade skill. This is both and, because all of the skills required today, both soft skills and technical skills, require that you have a both and philosophy of both a trade, a specialized skill, and that's qualifiable for college credit in order to have a living wage job today. And so our communities have had no resistance to this because the goal is to be employable and to be able to be independent in life.
And part of that being employable is soft skills. We haven't really talked about that.
There is no doubt that the skills that students will, or workers will get while their practical experience working they acquire will help them not only in their studying but in the next level of jobs that they are going to apply.
As you mentioned on soft skills, that comes up quite a bit in the annual report that St. Louis Community College does. We see it in national studies as well. But it's important that folks realize it's what you know that will get you hired, it's how you act that will get you fired.
Now let's talk specifically about what soft skills are. Knowing how to talk to people, just knowing how to shake their hand, look them in the eye.
Showing up on time, work ethic,
That's exactly
being able to
right.
get along with other people, those types of skills.
Yeah, we have a specific curriculum that we call tenacity because it also includes entrepreneurship and grit. So the first skills are how to have a 10-second elevator pitch to introduce yourself, say who you are, what your goal is, and how you can benefit someone else. The second, well, as was mentioned, showing up on time, looking crisp and clean, and being able to say, okay, I'm able to represent another organization. So the impression you give is another soft skill. Thirdly, how to make complaints appropriately. So oftentimes what we know, millennials have a different viewpoint as to how things should be and how environments and work environments should be and norms and customs. So they have to learn how to appropriately disagree agreeably, if that makes sense. There's other factors, but all those are norms
Absolutely.
to teach.
We have seen the example from the construction business. Construction business is all about the teamwork, is all about relying upon each other, not studying only in the quietness of your room with your computer, but shaking hands, relying, helping your teamwork, and achieving the goal which the entire team is needed to be achieved.
And speaking of soft skills, I want you to meet a young man whose path to a middle skills job brought him here through the 9 Network, and you'll see how mentorship has helped him in his success so far. For 8 weeks during the winter of 2017, 22-year-old Brian Oliver, that's him on the right, was an intern here at the 9 Network's Internet Technology Department. Oliver took to the experience like a fish to water.
And during the internship, you're guaranteed to learn more than you could ever know. Just here, I've learned Linux commands, which I know are widely accepted in the IT field. I've learned various Windows commands. I've learned how to boot from several hard drives. It's a lot of things. They even gave me my own server that I'm in charge of, and I run, and I take care of it, and I make sure maintenance on it is good.
Oliver is especially interested in cybersecurity.
There are always attacks on a company from certain people, be it hackers or people who just want to use social engineering, or just who want to install ransomware to get money to for somebody to pay them off. Cybersecurity is a large field, and the time does need to be put into it to learn what to do, because you're in charge of maintaining a company's security, and if that company puts their trust in you, you need to let them know that you're there for them.
The McClure High School graduate studied for 2 years at the University of Missouri St. Louis, but he left because of mounting student loan debt. Searching for a job to pay that debt off, Oliver found out about a New York-based nonprofit organization called NPower. It had recently opened a regional office in St. Louis.
At our core, we are a workforce development training program.
Trina Clark-James is Executive Director of NPower St. Louis.
Our end game is not just to provide training and get a job. Our real goal is to support career growth and advancement over time.
At Harris-Stowe State University, where NPower St. Louis is headquartered, students receive 22 weeks of training. The first 15 are focused on internet technology instruction 4 days a week, with the 5th day concentrating on development of so-called soft skills and life skills. The remaining weeks are spent in a paid internship like Brian Oliver's. Since our interview, he's become a contract employee with a local healthcare system on the IT help desk. Oliver is also the proud recipient of his first certification from the Computing Technology Industry Association, better known as CompTIA. It qualifies him to work as a computer service technician, troubleshooting and repairing PCs.
Being able to go straight from our program and get those foundational IT skills into a program where he's now learning about coding and computer programming just shows that he has a plan, and he is working that plan to make sure that he has a bright future.
Certainly, Brian and Malik both have a pretty bright future ahead of them. How important were mentors to their development and all young people's development?
Well, I had the privilege of being Brian's superintendent when he was at McClure, and so I had to say, he always was a hungry, well-rounded individual, but the mentorship aspect let him see what he can be. He didn't know what he was capable of until he had someone who said, I've done this, and I see that potential in you, just like the construction individual said. And then his horizons broadened, and he stuck with it and was able to be what we see today, which is just so inspiring to me even.
What kind of success stories have you seen, Scott?
Well, we've been seeing more students get interested in a lot of fields that they hadn't thought about before. We heard earlier about a CAPS program that we're doing, and versions of that are happening around the region. But I've been hearing students, as they've been giving capstone or meeting with us as local folks, telling us how they had not thought they knew what their future was going to be, and that by getting into these programs, meeting a mentor, going to an event, or being able to tour a facility, rather than just hear about it in a classroom, it changed their mind and opened their idea of what could be ahead.
Are employers in some cases, do you think they're setting the bar a little too high for some jobs that may not really require a college degree, but they're saying that just to try to weed people out?
Well, I know when I've been meeting with a lot of companies, sometimes they'll show us their job description and it'll say 5 years required or 10 years required. And I'm asking, how well is it happening given the fact that we're around 3% or so unemployment? And they'll say, well, we don't get many applicants anymore. So we'll try to encourage them, instead of saying required, make it preferred. You'd like to have somebody with 5 or 10 years, but if it's preferred, then that opens the door for more folks to apply. And even in the study, the state of workforce, we saw that about 80%, if I recall the numbers, of companies realize they have to lower the bar in terms of the experience that they're looking for in these days of shrinking workforce and a tight labor market.
So what happens now economically? What if this skills gap is not addressed? What does that mean economically for this region?
Well, the skill gap will be addressed. It is only going to take a little bit of time until the economy balanced itself. The sooner we achieve that balance, better off everybody will be. What is happening now that we, as I said, have a structural changes in our economy. And the demand for work is cyclical. 10, 15 years ago, the pursuance of the higher degree or the master degree was suggested to the people. Explosion of the MBA programs, other master's program was the name of the game. Today, as we can see, we start entering the workforce. Demand for the entering workforce moved from certain age group to the younger age group. And educational institutions need to be open in adjusting their program, in adjusting their mode of delivery in order to enable new entrants to achieve multiple goals, to enter the workforce at the younger age and to achieve their education when all other things fall into the place.
Are there other markets, other states that are doing better than we are right now?
Yeah, having worked from coast to coast with the Centers for Innovation and Education, Base 11, you know, I was responsible for about 1 million students being in workforce pathways. And so the West Coast is much further ahead as it pertains to clean energy and renewable energies. The East Coast is ahead, in my opinion, and what the data shows as well, with having some young people in the financial sector and in the insurance sector. The Midwest hasn't gotten to that point yet, but I just want to definitely applaud those businesses that have companies on those coasts, but also here, like Regions Bank, who then said, we can do this here in the Midwest. So every Regions Bank manager and employee from the St. Louis area has chosen to adopt a middle school student all the way through high school in the Jennings School District and get to show them where they work, what they do, and then say, you can be like me. The interesting thing is that the financial industry and banking is changing. Like, you no longer see as many bank tellers because of automation. And so that's the issue as it pertains to, like, you know, this bachelor's degree skilling up versus a high school student. The issue is, can you come with some new knowledge and wisdom enough to compete with the changing demands in the market to then contribute when we don't need entry-level tellers, let's say. But Regions hired several of our students as high school students, and they gave them actual ideas that would make it more marketable for Regions because they think like millennials and they're into technology, which is, you know, Snapchat and Facebook and so forth, and which is another means of commerce as well as communication. So everything that's been said is right. We need to skill up. We need to have young people have transferable skills that are marketable, but also give them exposure and mentors very early on.
And on the plus side, we would be remiss not to mention Amazon in St. Peter's bringing a distribution center. That's a big deal right now.
That's going to be a big push. We had to pick some sectors based on federal requirements that we wanted to focus on for career pathways. All of the workforce districts did. And one of our 5 sectors was logistics, transportation, warehousing. And so it's neat to see that come true. That's the main one everybody's heard about. It took 15 years to get to this point, but it will be only about the 3rd or 4th largest of its type in St. Charles County because we've just been going crazy with a lot of warehouse distribution. And those are good jobs that open a new career pathway as we see less retail activity, less retail jobs over time, where we can move people into a higher wage opportunity that might have been left in a 2nd or 3rd job working at a restaurant or a retail store. Here we have a job, good salary, good benefits. They actually will help people advance with tuition reimbursement, and they can either stay and develop within Amazon or use those skills and move on to another employer.
And go back to school if you want to.
That's right.
So true.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
So we'll leave it at that. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have. If you want more information about job training in our area, please go to our website, 9net.org/jobs. I'm Ruth Ezell. Good night.
American Graduate Getting to Work is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the following supporters.